You know, there are certain elements or accessories that you come across when you're drawing that you know are super meticulous and you know they're going to take forever for you to render and draw. But at the end of the day, you definitely don't regret spending the time doing it because the overall look is exactly what you were looking for. Well, for me, that's chains. So let's talk a little bit about chains. So we got to start with our links. So let's just understand the basic fundamental of the link before we actually make the chain. So if you are starting out, understanding them as just rounded rectangles is the easiest way to go. So let's start with our simple shape, the rectangle, and we'll round it off. Now with that shape in mind, let's rotate it. So if we think of it as just a little rectangular block, it becomes a lot easier for us to think about a full rotation of what this little oval is going to look like as a chain link. And why this is really helpful is because when you start moving the chain a bunch, you're going to have a bunch of different angles that these links are going to end up falling in. So having them as just this little block is going to be a really easy shorthand for your brain to start thinking about all of these individual links and how they're going to play off of one another as the chains are moving. So now that we've looked at those links at their angle, let's talk about piecing them together because chains are linked together. So let's use our block. So I'm going to make my little rectangular block with my hole in it, and in the same idea, I'm going to have an equally sized rectangle, but I'm going to rotate that and have it more flat, so I'm only seeing one side of it. Now if we were going to rotate it, remember the sides, because you're going to have two of the sides showing and they're going to be kind of making a V when you're looking at it at an angle. So remember that one is going to overtake the other, and you need to draw through to remember your spacing to make sure that that is actually how the chain is supposed to look. Now let's think about the inner guideline, because this is a really easy shorthand for you to kind of understand. So I want to start with just a line. It's essentially like my line of action where my chain's going to go. Then I'm going to kind of do this stair-step pattern, alternating, but they need to be even. And then once I have that alternating, that's going to be my inner line, and I'm going to then bulk out alternating the sides of my chain. Now remember, when you get that done, fill in the back, because these are three-dimensional, and because they do loop around, you need to make sure that this object looks like it is three-dimensional and has quite a bit of volume to it. So the thing about this little alternating stair step method is that these links need to be straight. Don't curve them, because we have a tendency to want to do that because we're drawing on a curved line. So weight is really important when it comes to chains, more arguably than any other like loose thing. So rope can hang with a larger, more gradual curve because it's a little bit lighter. Chains, however, are going to have the chain a little bit straighter because the weight is pulling it down at a more severe pull, and that angle on the ground is going to be a lot more intense. But while we're here with this idea of it hitting the ground, chains can lay at a 90-degree angle, sure, because they have links like that. However, if you're going to have it sitting on the ground, putting a little bow in here adds so much visually, and it really makes it feel heavy. Another thing about the chain being bowed and with weight is that whenever it's between two objects, the only time it's ever going to be straight is when there's an extreme force pulling it. So if it's, chain between hands, it's pulling it really tightly. Otherwise, it's going to have weight that's going to pull it down naturally at the middle of the chain itself between the two objects. That's just a few little tidbits about chains. Thanks everybody. Go check out my school for more Art Hack Guide downloads and go draw. Thanks everyone.